I hate making it sound like it's scripted, but all right. Welcome. Hey Luke, welcome to the Absolute Podcast. First time seeing you.
Yeah, we definitely haven't been on this call for 10 minutes trying to figure audio stuff
No,
out. Yeah, cool.
not at all.
Yeah.
Maybe dive into more about yourself and like your story and where like just a quick briefing maybe until like where you are now. Are
Yeah,
you able
bro.
to do a quick little storyline, a little more about Luke White?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I've been living in the South now for 7 months. So my yes sir and yes ma'am is beating into me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man. So I don't know where to start. I mean, obviously, I feel like a good point to start is like post high school.
Yeah.
But just super brief overview. Um, Halfway through senior year, I signed up for a program in Hawaii, um, and it was basically, I would say, like comparable to like an internship, a 3-month program where I would work on a university campus in exchange for like housing and room and board basically. And so getting the opportunity to be there, be a part of everything going on, and be in Hawaii. That was like why I signed up originally. And so, yeah, I signed up for that midway through high school. I would say majority of the reason was just out of having nothing else to do,
Yeah.
nothing else planned. And it seemed like everyone else kind of had a game plan, whether they were going to school or I had looked into all those options. But in my mind, it was kind of like, I'll take a gap year and go to Hawaii for 3 months. So post high school, pack everything, go to Hawaii. And I was there for 3 months, working with this nonprofit organization called YWAM. And so I was there for 3 months. And I would say during that 3 months, like, definitely drastically changed my life. I think a big part for me was like my first kind of, I don't know, adulting experience outside of this small town of Sussex, New Brunswick, Canada,
Yeah.
big deal. And, all my roommates were from all over the world, Australia, Germany, Sweden. And so just getting exposure to just the world. And it felt like the world was a lot smaller, and attainable. And so
Yeah.
that time for me was really impactful, just like getting to experience life outside of a small town, meet people from all over the world, and just personally grow, like being out of the setting that of everything I was familiar to, and getting to actually ask the question of like who is Luke White outside of the image of whatever I was in high school or tried to be, or and so for me, that was a huge thing, and personal journey of faith, and all things mixed in, just real life experience. And so I did that for 3 months, and then I went home for Christmas break. I ended up signing up for their 6-month kind of introductory school, and so went back to Hawaii for another 3 months. And studied, and then I ended up traveling for 3 months after that. I was with a mobile team across Scandinavia. So we went to Sweden, Finland, Norway, the Faroe Islands, Denmark. It was incredible. And again, my first time really out of, at this time, America, and just what I had known, and again the world just becoming so much smaller, and getting to meet amazing people. And so yeah, we did that for about 3 months, and then at the end of that period, come back to Hawaii, and everyone that was a part of that school meets back there. And that was kind of like everyone's like asking the question, like, what do we do next? Because there's...
Welcome. This episode is sponsored by Piccadilly Coffee. Piccadilly Coffee has a passion for all things coffee, from bean to cup and everything in between. Sourcing beans from a small farm and cooperatives is a main priority. They also don't use technology and large machines to roast their coffee. They use sight, smell, and sound to ensure that each batch has the best flavor profile. Piccadilly Coffee also roasts in small batches, so their customers are always guaranteed fresh beans. Their mission is to provide the best quality product as well as the best customer service, all while enjoying the Piccadilly Coffee experience. Guys, I'm pretty sure like coffee is one of the most purchased items in the world. So if you're human and you buy coffee, just shop at Piccadilly Coffee. Support them. They're amazing. Matter of fact, I don't even like coffee, but ever since I started with them, I've started my addiction. So get at it.
Lots of options, ways to serve with the organization, whether that's doing more schooling or staffing or whatever. And so for me, I felt to go back and do a 9-month school. So I went back, did that 9-month school. It was amazing. It was kind of broken up into 3 parts. First part was kind of learning all about in depth, like actually studying like the Bible. And then the second 3 months was studying worldview. So like how do I see the world, and how does the person, the boy in North Africa across the world, how does he see the world, and how does our life differ, and or how we're raised and the culture we're raised in. And then the third semester was like on communications. So like how do we communicate through culture barriers and such, especially just that being like an international school. That was also when I met my wife during that time. And so kind of actually started just to form a lot of friendships there, and a lot of really deep friendships, just with the people I was in school with. And then after that year, that was 2019, came back fall 2019, and then was joining on staff. And so at this time I was kind of launched into teaching and leading some stuff on the campus, and got to be a part of some cool things. And that was right before COVID. And I feel like that's kind of like a big turning point for a lot of us. But like right before COVID, that happened where I was actually on a trip in Asia. I was in Southeast Asia when I heard about COVID. I was actually in I was in an airport in China when I'd like read about the virus. And I remember thinking like, I don't know, just kind of like, oh, another thing going on. And we were just coming back from overseas, kind of get back to Hawaii, and the talk of COVID starts happening, and then the whole world shuts down, Yeah. And then it was it was about a 6-month period where I lived, I was in a house. A buddy of mine, a close friend of mine, his parents bought a house for him right after we finished school. It was such a funny thing. We're like both super young in Hawaii. We're like finishing school, planning on coming back the next year. His parents are like, why don't you guys go look at houses, in Hawaii, and we'll look at buying one. And we're like, I'm like, dope. Yeah. So
that's sick.
Yeah. So me and him go house shopping. The first house we go to see, like amazing house, 2-story house, like pool, crazy view. His mom like flies out the next weekend, ends up buying it. And so that ends up being where I live for the next, 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. And so we, during COVID, when all that happened, it was about 10 of us single dudes all in this house, just trapped. And so it was just so funny, navigating that time where like everyone's confused. No one really knows what's going on or what to do or how to react. And so it was just a funny time. Me and Bailey were dating during that time, which was also weird. We had like a 40-day period where our school basically was under like more of a strict guidelines just because of the community and our international kind of like reputation. And so we were just trying to like be more kind of like strict than everyone else. And so we were supposed to stay with our houses, like where we lived, we had to stay with them, like bubbles or whatever, you call it. So for 40 days, me and Bailey weren't allowed to be within 6 feet of each other, but I would take my buddy's Jeep and she would take her Jeep. We'd like drive up the mountain and park and just sit on the back of, the tailgate outside, like 6 feet apart, hanging out. Like such a weird time,
Yeah, super weird.
Yeah, bro. And so did that. I ended up going back to Canada for the summer, working, and then I went back to Hawaii for that fall, got engaged, was staffing some things, then got married December 2020 in Nashville before we knew we were going to move here. Then we jumped on tour right after that, like 3 weeks after we got married. Crazy. We like jumped on tour and we're all over Tennessee and like the South region for like 2.5 months. And then, flew back to Hawaii, staffed for a little bit longer. And then I would say this last Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving is different. It's in November. Wait, when is Canadian Thanksgiving?
October 8th, I think.
October 8th.
I think.
Yeah, so American Thanksgiving is, I think, November.
A month after that?
November something. I still don't know.
Yeah. It is a month later.
Yeah. So around Thanksgiving time was when we started to talk about moving, which was so crazy because we had lived there for 5 years. All of our friends are there, and it just kind of felt like it was time for us to like move. And we like brought it to all of our close friends and our leaders and like people we were with, and just kind of were like, hey, is this right? Like, should we move? And so just kind of gave it some time to process, and then made the decision to move to Nashville officially like December 15th, which was our like 1 year anniversary. So decided to move then. So we sold everything we had and we moved to Nashville at the end of February, 7 months ago. So now we've been here. A little, it's an overview, no, very, very broad overview, but I feel like I've gotten like good at telling that in a brief like way that doesn't take seven hours.
I imagine that's not your first time explaining it, but
no, yeah, totally, yeah.
Well, it's just for the viewers to understand like where you're kind of coming from, kind of what you're doing, I guess, and your little journey until now, so they get a little understanding of who Luke White is, which I think is important. So they're not just jumping in this podcast going, who the heck is this guy? Dude, what's he about? Like,
I feel that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I asked myself that question. Yeah.
First thing is, what made you want to do Nashville? Like, I know you talked to people and you probably prayed about it and saw if it was the right move, but was there an attraction before?
Yeah, man. It's funny. Like when we were here on tour, we just felt like a huge connection with a lot of people that we met here. So our best friends are a married couple. They live here with us now, Rachel and Micah. But basically, I met Rachel super randomly because of tour. So we were setting up our tour dates and all that, and our numbers were like contact numbers for people in regions to like reach out to host and stuff. And so I get a call one night, and it's Rachel, and I never met her. She's like, hey, like, is it too late to host a tour stop? And I'm like, oh no, like, what region are you in? And she's like, oh, I'm in Tennessee. And I was like, oh, it's crazy that, you know, me and my wife are actually like the ones that are going to be there. And so she's like, oh, that's crazy. And so we talked for a little bit, and then we ended up like FaceTiming a bunch, like over the next few weeks, planning stuff out. And we like got so close with her just over FaceTime that we like invited her to our wedding. We hadn't met her in person until our wedding.
Wow.
And kind of after that, it's funny, they got married a couple months after us, and they ended up moving to Hawaii for their first year of marriage. And we just became best friends. Like, they lived down the street from us, and like every single day hanging out, we're going on adventures together. You know, I think like before we left, we just did a bunch of crazy stuff before we left the island. You know, we like drove around the entire island one night, like went to the volcano, like just like cruise around the whole island. And it was super fun. And so we kind of built that relationship with them for like a year. And then it was like at the end of that year, there had been talk about them moving back to Nashville, and we were like super sad about that. I remember thinking like, dang, that's gonna suck when they leave. But it wasn't like, oh, we'll go to Nashville too. It was like, oh, that sucks when they leave. We, you know, we live here, and this is what we do. And so we did that for like, we kind of talked about that for a few months, and then a close friend of ours actually brought up Nashville to us, because it was super, super brief around that time. We were like looking at buying a house in Kona in Hawaii right before we left. So like we were like not planning on leaving. Oh, sorry, someone's calling right now. That is the worst. I gotta put that do not disturb on, you know?
Yeah, I feel that.
Dude. Okay, here we go. My bad. All right. So yeah, we were like not planning on leaving Kona, at all. And then a close friend of ours, a family that we were really close with, the wife had like mentioned to us Thanksgiving night. She was like, do you think that maybe you guys like should like, you know, just have a season of life like in another place? And they were also saying like, we don't see you have like as deep of a connection with other people as we do with Micah and Rachel, who are our best friends, and they were thinking about moving. And so like, maybe it would be time to like move on. And that was like scary for us at the time. It was like, because it was everything we knew was in Hawaii.
Well, I was gonna say, you've been there for like 4 years. You're basically a local at that time.
Hey, yeah, no. And so it was kind of a scary thought, you know. And so we decided, we were like, let's think about it, let's pray about it, and kind of give it some serious thought. And it was like, as soon as we started to think about it and give it thought, it was like, it felt real. And we were like, why do I feel excited about moving to Nashville? And, you know, so that kind of started the process. And then it was like just a few weeks, and we had talked to everyone and then made that decision. But there wasn't any other, like, it's funny because like, you know, I didn't move here because of work, or like I didn't move here for music. It was kind of like we moved here because we felt like it was just where the next kind of season of our life was going to be. And then all of this other stuff started kind of like happening. And so, you know, it's funny here when you're like, we live about like 25 minutes outside of Nashville, like 28 to be exact. And
so anybody that's listening, they can do the radius and then figure out where
yeah, I won't say where, but secret location. But we live about 28 minutes out of Nashville. And I work in Nashville, and I almost like don't like telling people that I do music, because it feels like kind of like in Nashville, it's very, you know, of course you do. You know, like everyone you meet does music. It's Nashville. And so
Really?
when I'm like, oh, I just moved here 7 months ago, and they're like, do you do music? And I'm like, yes, but like that's not why I moved here. Like, because I feel like there's like this weird stigma around like moving to Nashville, trying to make it in music. And so, yeah, we moved here, and then that a lot of stuff just started kind of like happening where we didn't really know what was going to happen or what was going to look like, or community or friends here. And so it just kind of was, it was crazy. That's but cool. Yeah.
Is there a lot of production in Nashville?
Yeah.
Like, is that,
yeah.
Is it a certain type of music that's in Nashville, or is it just like just the spot that's just known for it?
Well, it's funny. It used to be like country music. Obviously it still is, like, but it used to be kind of more strictly country music. But the scene for music here is everything now. You know, like indie, a lot of indie alternative bands and artists, and a lot of hip hop, R&B, and kind of like all areas of music, which is really cool. And so instead of just the country music, you know, it's definitely evolved into like the place to be. I mean, labels, you know, lots of labels and artists are moving here right now in this area. And so, yeah, it's a cool place. But yeah, not strictly country music. I would say like there's been a lot of growth into like every genre, which is dope.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Kind of like, would it be kind of, I have no idea, but would it be kind of be like how Los Angeles is like a big movie production?
Yes.
Film? Yeah. It'd be like Nashville's like audio, like music and everything.
Yes. Yeah. No, 100%. Like, LA is like, you know, acting. I mean, obviously, like lots of people go to LA for music stuff as well, but Nashville,
Atlanta's big for music, I think, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Atlanta's a massive city too. Like, I mean, we're kind of surrounded by a few bigger cities that have a pretty big music music influence. But yeah, Nashville's kind of just staple, like known for music, and a lot of big labels like are based here. Yeah, it's just kind of like it's Music City, you know. But yeah.
To the start of your story, when you were kind of explaining like you went and traveled to Switzerland and Norway and like all those places at such a young age, like starting out of high school, I always thought, like, I was in the same boat. I still am, like, not sure exactly what I'm supposed to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I felt the same way. Some people it was just like they knew they had to go to school, or they knew they were going to go work at this place, or they knew that they were going to work towards this thing, or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, but what you saying that made me think of a clip. And it was Gary V, which is
my guy.
Everybody knows Gary V, but he did say something that was kind of cool.
He's so
funny. Yeah.
I love Gary V.
He just said, it was like, yeah, he's pretty sweet. He's funny. There's a little clip, and it's like a mom trying to say like, oh, should my kid go to college or not? Because he doesn't want to go. And then he's like, no, your kid's better off backpacking in Europe for a year than he is going to a year in college playing Call of Duty with his friends or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of true, honestly. Like, to get out and check the world out before you even have a say on what you want to do, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude,
which 100%. I remember viewing your Instagram kind of stories during that time period, and it was like, man, one day you're here, then the next day you're here. I was like, this guy is just all over the place right now.
Yeah. But, yeah. No, totally. Yeah. I think, I don't know, college is such a funny thing. I think college can be beneficial. It's funny, Elon Musk talks about, you know, like college, like, is just like useless. And he's like,
there is a stigma around that. Like, it's like, oh, university's just stupid, or university's waste of time. Or
my opinion is, there's certain things that you have to go to school to do, you know, like, and if you're like, I want to be a doctor, You know, I want to be a police officer. I want to be an electrician. I want to, like, then obviously the route you go is going to school. But I personally, I'm saying this only out of like even experience of like being in Hawaii, like where people are coming from all over the world and different places of life. And, you know, there's so many people that were there that like had school debt, and it was kind of like limiting them from what they were wanting to do. And I think even my observation from like a lot of the people from back home, you know, in Sussex, like kind of like post high school, was a lot of people jumping into school, and then me seeing a couple years later, these guys aren't, you know, they all dropped out. And, you know, because they hated it or realized, what am I doing? Because I think in a lot of places, maybe Sussex being one of them, just in the small town, kind of like, we might just like set out like, this is the formula, you know, it's like, go to high school. After high school, you either go to UNB or you go to, you know, this school or this school and take get some bachelor's degree. And then you decide what you want to do. But that's such a funny, like, backwards thing. You know, I'm glad that I didn't go to school and get in a bunch of debt for something I didn't want to do, you know, because I think it's like, it can be limiting, but it also, like, if you're doing something specific, it can be great. And so I think it depends on the person, it depends on the situation. I think a lot of times there can be a pressure from like maybe parents, because it's what they did, you know, like, and I think there's this tension, especially right now.
Everybody around you doing it too as well.
Yeah, dude. And I think it's a crazy tension right now. It's like between Gen Z and like the older generation. There's like, I know a lot of people are like, you know, always like kind of bashing Gen Z for like not being a working generation, and, you know, they don't want to do hard work and they don't want to get their hands dirty and blah, blah, blah. And partly maybe there's truth to that. But I think also it's like, when I look at Gen Z, I see like a generation that's kind of like innovated different ways to live that don't look like it used to. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people, because imagine if you went to college, your father went to college and his father went to college, and that's like how it is. And then you see, you know, your son who like doesn't go to college, wants to do this other thing, and you're like, that's not how it works, but it's working. Yeah. You know, lots of people are doing it without school and are doing great. You know, I think that's like the weird thing that we have to kind of break outside of sometimes. Is like, it doesn't look like it used to. My job, like now, even feels weird most times because I don't work 9 to 5. Like I make my own schedule all week. We have more of a specific schedule when we are selling vintage clothes in Nashville on the weekends. But during the week, it's kind of like I get to make my schedule, and it almost feels like cheating. Like I feel guilty sometimes, you know, because I've worked 9 to 5 jobs and long hours.
We work together, fun fact.
Yes, bro. Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. I'm like, yeah, that was definitely not a 9 to 5. It's more of like a 6 to 12, you know, 6 a.m. to midnight job. Yeah, wake up
not
5
a 6 to 12 hours. It's more like a 15-hour or more a day, every single
brutal.
day.
Just brutal. Yeah. And so you work a job like that, and then you start working a job where it's more flexible and there's space to kind of get creative and like, you know, do fun things. And my job feels like cheating in a lot of ways because I enjoy it and it's fun. Like, you know, the fact that I get to, my job literally consists of buying cool vintage clothes all the time and then selling them. You know, drinking coffee while people buy expensive clothes. Like, it's a weird it's a weird thing, dude. And even the real estate side of things, like what I'm doing is very like low. Yeah, it's just like I'm not working a ton of hours, but the payout is so much greater. And I think that's something that Gen Z's like basically been able to access a lot of ways is like, and I think there's, you know, there's good and bad to it. The good side is, yeah, it's awesome, like ways of income that you can work very little and you know, your payout can be a lot larger than if you were working a normal job. But on the bad side too, you know, we can tend to not want to work a lot and just want to make big money because, you know, that's what we see. That's what we think we see on social media. Yeah, and I feel like, and to be like, from a standpoint of like living outside of a small town and social media and actually being around those people that are making those posts and doing those things, like it's not like that, you know, all the time. And a lot of it is is a front, you know, it's like they might drive a Lambo, but like they can barely pay their rent, you know? So it's like, it's this weird, like, it's this weird wrestle. And so, yeah, man. But yeah, I think the college, like university thing, I think it's just I don't know, for me at least, it doesn't make sense in my mind to just do it, because that's 4 years, you know. 100%. Where are you at? Where are you living right now?
Right now I'm in a room, and sadly, map-wise, I'm still in Sussex, Cowtown.
Nice, dude. No, I was just curious. I was like, I don't know where you're... Dude.
Where you at?
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
We're back.
We're back. Cool.
What were we talking about? We're talking about school, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think we just closed at like thought, you know, of college, university.
Yeah. Were you always musical? Like, were you always playing instruments? Because when I remember you in high school, I don't remember seeing any of that.
No, dude. I grew up playing music. Loved music. Played guitar and singing, writing songs. I absolutely loved it, dude. And I remember moving to Sussex, and this is like my first and last kind of like Sussex musical experience. It's so cringy and so awkward. I was telling my wife this the other night, and she was like horrified that this was like true and this happened. But so I get to Sussex, 8th grade, Sussex Middle School, new kid, and I made the mistake of, you know, sharing with somebody that I sing, or I like to sing so bad, dude. And all I remember is, you know, every day they were all like cheering me on, like, you should like sing for us in front of the class. And they would like, you know, select a song on YouTube, like karaoke style, and like play it, like, and I would like stand up there, and I was like so shy, like singing. And so like every time I would like back out. I remember one time me and Sam Malone were like standing up there, and like Sam was even like helping me, like started to sing himself, like to try to like get me to sing. Dude, I just like couldn't do it, and it was just like so awkward, and I like, couldn't bring myself to sing. And so eventually I just like, you know, I was like, I'm never gonna sing in front of these people, and I'm never gonna sing, period. I'm over it. And so it was like this awkward introduction into like that. And so I literally from then on, pretty much there was a small period during 9th or 10th grade where it's so funny, dude. Like, you know, I would hang out with Sam and Chris, Alexander, like, and we would just make music in my basement. You know, it was during like the Odd Future era, so like, you know, we were like convinced like we're the next, you know, Odd Future. And so we're like in my basement, like rapping about stuff that like didn't even apply to our lives, and just like, you know.
Man, I hope you have videos of that stuff.
Dude, I found a recording like a long time ago on my laptop, and it's so bad, you know. I'm just like, it was funny. Like the two things I rapped about was like one, of course, like the kind of like life being so hard, you know,
Yeah.
as like, you know, living in the suburbs with my, you know, parents that are still married, you know, just, you know, like this, like this crazy,
complete opposite of like the stereotype, I guess.
and like rapping about that, like I was like rapping about how hard my life was, you know, like, and putting all these things in. And then two, I would like diss the, I don't even know how to describe it now, like the country boy thing, you know, like the guys that wore work boots every day, and which I then became, you know, at the end of high school. But I would always like talk trash about them, you know, and like on my raps, just like diss track. And dude, so funny. So that was like a short period that didn't touch music again until the summer after high school. I started writing poetry. And I just loved it. I had a friend that I worked with that was like incredible. And so I started writing poetry. And then eventually I was like, why don't I sing, you know, this poetry? And I could try that. And then I was like, oh, these are songs. And I actually went on a trip to New Hampshire with a friend for like a music festival. And like when we were there, I like wrote my first song. And this is a crazy story. Was like, there was this artist that I listened to for the first time on that trip. I like found him on Spotify and I was obsessed with him, and I like listened to all his music, and it inspired me to write like my first song. Right. And so I write that song. Absolutely love this artist. This artist is from Nashville. And I was just like, from then on, like that's all I listened to was this guy. And then I end up, you know, I kind of get into music that summer, and it kind of became like me, you know, I love writing songs and playing guitar. And so right after that was when I went to Hawaii for that 3 months. So I'm in Hawaii, this like the fall after that summer, after high school. And I meet this girl, and we become friends, and we would literally, I remember seeing on her Instagram that she had posted a video, and it was like in the background was one of his songs. So I'm like messaging her like, whoa, like he's my favorite artist like ever. And so she sends me a screenshot of his number in her phone, and I'm like, what the heck? And so we then literally would sit. She was like, yeah, I knew him, like we were friends. And I was like, what the heck? And so we would sit like all the time and play his music together. And like listen to his music and play his songs on guitar. And she was an amazing singer and guitar player as well. And she's from Nashville. So that happens, obviously, literally throughout all these years. Like he remains my favorite artist in the world. And listened to him all through. And then this summer, me and my wife Bailey started talking was because I had responded to a story she posted that she was at one of his shows. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, like, can you please get me a shirt from him and I'll pay you when we get back to Hawaii. Like, I really like love him and blah, blah, blah. And so we started talking, blah, blah, blah. That was like a huge part of our relationship. Like, and fast forward, you know, I mean, we literally had her cousin. It's like a crazy electric guitar player in Nashville. He played one of our favorite songs by this artist as she walked down the aisle, like when we got married. Fast forward a year, you know, a couple months ago, we moved here. This girl that I first met in Kona, way back, that we used to play his music together, they start dating. She starts dating this artist. And you know, it's so weird because I'm like, what the heck? Like, we would always talk about him. Like, he's my favorite artist. So Bailey gets us tickets when we first moved here because it's my first time living in a city. I'd never even been to a concert that I like wanted to be at, you know, like wow. I'd never like, oh, I want to see this artist, buy tickets. She bought us tickets. We go to see him.
I will say, I feel like in the States, that's more of a thing to do than it is in Canada.
Oh, dude.
Like, I think it's like,
Yeah.
like going to a concert's like a normal weekend thing, I guess, for people.
Well, bro,
Let's go to this one. Let's go to that
in
one.
Nashville, especially, like, Nashville's the spot for it because there's every night of the week you can go and listen to live music, and
Wow.
every artist comes through and plays at the big arenas, and like it's just wild. And so, and you know, they all live here, so it's like a
Yeah.
crazy dynamic. And so, anyway, she buys us tickets. We go to the show. I messaged this girl when we're at the show, and I'm like, hey, are you going to be here tonight? Because they're dating, you know, and he's the headliner of this show. So we listen to all these other artists. She sees me. She comes over. We say, hey, we haven't seen each other in a couple years. And then she's like, hey, after the show, text me, and I'll bring you backstage, and you can meet him. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, like, and so after the show, it was just so good, so amazing. She like comes, meets us, brings us backstage, and we end up just kicking it with him for like, 30 minutes. And it was so weird because it's such a, I wasn't gonna like explain to him like, bro, like 5 years ago I started listening to your music and you're the reason I write music and blah blah, all this stuff. And it was so weird because it just felt so normal. Like we're backstage and I'm like, I'm just hanging out with him and petting his dog, and we're just sitting here, and this is kind of like normal, it's kind of wild. And so we hung out and talked for a bit, took a photo, and then we left. But it was such a weird full circle moment of like, that was the artist that kind of like got me into music right after high school. Here we are 5 years later. I'm living in Nashville, hanging out with him, like such a weird full circle moment. But like, yeah, that was the time that I got into music, really into music, was post high school. Yeah, like right after high school.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's funny how like little things happen and it like grows, or like something else happens that aligns with that thing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
So you're doing music. Are you doing music every week, like right now? Like not necessarily performing, but like working on music, or how does that look?
Yeah. Currently, I felt kind of like the last 7 months being here, it kind of felt like landing, like hitting the ground running. I didn't really feel like to jump into like doing music stuff. And I was kind of like not even really thinking about it. And so, yeah, I would say recently, because my last song I released, the only reason that even happened was there's an artist that again, like crazy connection, artist that I really love and listen to, that was going to be in town, and I wanted to hang out with him. And so he was coming through, and so he ended up staying at our house, and Bailey was out of town actually. And so me and him just hung out, and we went to the studio in Nashville one day, and I had messaged him a few months before with a song idea and was like, hey, would you by chance be down for like, a collaboration? And he was like, yeah, for sure. Like, and so we went to the studio, planned to just have fun, and didn't really plan on like making anything specific. And so we went and hung out, and then he was like, hey, what's that song you sent me a while back? Let's like play that track. So we played the track, and we start writing, and it was just like a blast. It was like the most fun I've ever had making music. We're just like going back and forth from the booth, like doing like different vocal stuff and like trying different things and just having a blast. And so we wrote that song and finished it, and then we ended up releasing that about like over a month ago. But
is that the one that you uploaded a month ago?
Yeah, that's Wild for You.
The Wild for You, yeah.
Yeah, and so that, and then currently I just got approved for funding like a couple weeks ago for my new EP, and so I'm working with a producer in Dallas on producing that EP, and so I'm gonna probably go to Dallas maybe next month to like record it, just because it's different in person. We've like, me and him have worked together a couple times on the last 2 songs, and he'll build the track and send stuff back and forth, and I'll record vocals. Like I just finished this kind of a couple days ago, but it's like my home studio hangout area. But I'll record vocals, send them to him. But this time, I'm just gonna fly or drive down to Dallas and like spend a few days down there and like record the whole thing. Just, it's different being in person and like working with a producer versus like trying to explain every idea in your head over FaceTime or text. So
very difficult.
Yeah. So that's kind of, No, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, especially like sounds and stuff, if that's what you're kind of trying to describe.
Yeah.
Or the way,
Yes. So
I have no idea. I'm not.
No,
I'm
yeah,
not
it's
musical
true.
knowledge at all.
No, it's true. It's true. And so, that'll be, I think, my debut kind of EP, possibly like self-titled, like literally just called Luke. And there may or may not be a track on there called Sussex. Who knows?
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
Shouts out the hometown.
yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at right now. I'm not really in a huge rush, and I don't know when that would be finished. I'm thinking like beginning of 2023. I'm not really in a rush because I really do want to. It's cool because I have some amazing like artists that are like agreed to write on the EP with me, like people that I'm like big fans of, and so for me that feels like I just want to take my time. I want to get in writing sessions with these people and just like write some like really good stuff and not be super rushed to put it out. But yeah, dude.
Sometimes it's nice when an artist takes a couple of years to make an album.
Yeah, dude. I just hung out with one yesterday, a buddy at a coffee shop, and he recorded this album that he's releasing soon, like 2-3 years ago. And it's weird, I'm like, how does that feel? You have this whole album and you are like, haven't released it yet. And it's like, you've had it for so long. And so, yeah, I don't know. I want to just, I want it to be good and kind of, and it's also kind of switching styles. So that's a big.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love when artists have such different varieties in albums. Like no song is the same. I just love it. I don't know.
It's going to be it's like not indie pop, like what I've been doing at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's not indie pop. Yeah, dude. It's
like,
fun.
Like John Bellin, like he has some funky songs that weren't one of the albums. I remember they like bounced all around kind of. A little bit of rap and
John Bellion's freaking lit, dude. I love him.
Is it Bellion? Sorry.
Bellion. No, you're good. Bellin. It's all right. Bellion.
Bellin.
Yeah, John Bellion's cool.
He's crazy. Bon Iver, he like these are like big names, I guess. I don't know any small names really.
Yeah.
You would run into way more, but not saying these guys aren't big that you're dealing with. I'm just.
No, totally. It's different. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm excited.
You're around all those aspiring
artists, and it's funny, dude. There's a lot going on here, and people, bro, crazy story. Like this will just give you like an example of how wild this city is. Like just like like it's funny because like if all the people that live here know that like celebrities, like they just kind of hang out here, and this is different than other places because there's almost like a mutual understanding of like you don't bother them and just treat them normally. Yeah. And so like just
that's the difference between the film side and the music side, I feel like.
Yeah, it's weird, bro. Like Bailey used to work in a smoothies place, and she's served acai bowls and smoothies to like crazy celebrities, like, and it's just funny, like I think she told me she like served acai bowl to like Taylor Lautner like a couple years ago. And Jake Owen, the country singer,
I've heard of his name.
Yeah,
I can't picture him.
I haven't listened, I don't listen to like his music, but he's like Bailey's parents' neighbor, and so there's like a lot of it's just like weird here, saturated, and so a friend of mine, he works in Nashville at another vintage store, and he's working one day. He wasn't supposed to be there. He said the other guy that was going was sick that day. His car broke down or something, so he comes in for the shift. He's just hanging out. There's no customers inside, and these two guys like walk in the store, and he kind of like looks up and he's like, "Hey, welcome in," and then he just kind of like looks up and catches himself like looking at this guy, like staring at this one dude, kind of like trying to compute in his mind, like, how do I know you? Like what? Like just confused, and so he's like staring at this dude like confused, and this guy like immediately like looks down and starts looking through the racks, and because he could tell like he recognized him, and so then he ends up like yeah, and so but then he looks up again and locks eyes with him, and it was like he said in that moment he looked at him and he realized like who it was, and he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, that's Frank Ocean.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's like, that's freaking Frank Ocean. And so he like he talked to him for a second, like he walked back behind the counter where all the other staff were, and just kind of was like, hey guys, I think Frank Ocean's here. And everyone's like, what? And like, so and so he ended up actually like, they ended up leaving, like coming out, and they thought he like might have felt like awkward and like ended up leaving, just because he's kind of one of those people too that's just like super low key and like not trying to but it's funny, dude.
I feel like you forget that happens. It's like famous people, and it's like, oh yeah, you're just a regular human too that just happens to do something that the public enjoys.
It's weird,
and
dude.
You forget.
I mean, yeah, we have people
Luke
come
White?
by.
Are you kidding? It's
Whoa,
White?
dude.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude, that happens all the time. It's so awkward, dude. No, but it's just funny, dude.
Every coffee shop you go into.
Yeah, but it's funny, dude. It's a funny world. Once you like living in a city like this is just funny. There's like, it's kind of a normal thing, and you just realize like, man, these people are like normal people, and I don't know, it's just weird seeing people that you like grew up. Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's what people don't realize is like you see them on like in movies, or you see them in music videos, or any other celebrity for anything. Yeah. And then you forget like, oh yeah, they're just as normal as we are for the most part. Yeah. They just happen to have they're just more well known. Like I was kind of thinking like if a pharmacist was just like extremely well known, and they're just doing their work, and that people are just like amazed that they're just like organizing pills, and just like, and then they go outside of work, and then they're just like just as famous, and they're like, no way, it's the girl that organizes pills.
Yeah, dude.
In a lab.
Yeah,
like, it's insane.
Funny, dude. Yeah, fame is a funny thing. Like, yeah. A lot of these people are just, I mean, they all are. There's just normal peeps. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're normal.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes artists can be a little crazy.
Totally. Yeah. Kanye.
They're more unique, right? Is that what they say?
Yeah. Like Kanye,
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that, but I better not. Yeah. Kanye might come after me.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, can't even at him nowadays because he might come for you.
Yeah. You see him in Nashville, you're like, man, fan since day one. Never said anything bad about you.
He's like, bro, I watched the Absolute podcast. Like, don't you dare, dude. Yeah. Rips the Yeezys right off my feet. He's like, you don't deserve these. Yeah.
Just takes the soles right off.
Just rips the soles right off. Yeah. He's like, you don't even deserve this. He would do something like that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. No, that's amazing.
Yeah, dude.
Well, that was about an hour conversation.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I kind of want to keep the podcast at.
Yeah.
Man, I love you. You're absolutely amazing.
Thank you, bro.
I remember when we worked together, it was kind of a big perspective on like, kind of met you and kind of like knew just a little bit about you, even though like it wasn't a crazy amount, but it built like the tiniest bit of a relationship, I think.
Yeah.
And and I always thought you were awesome. My favorite song is still Gold. I still love it.
Let's go, dude.
So anybody listening, go search Luke Robert White on Spotify and listen to Gold, and then listen to every other song by him. But yeah, I appreciate you having you on. I'm definitely going to be seeing you soon.
Yeah,
I'm
bro.
not going to mention that in the podcast, but
keep them guessing. Keep them guessing out here.
Yeah, keep them guessing. Just like, why am I going to be seeing you soon?
Whoa, FaceTime again? Who
Whoa.
knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
FaceTime in person? Same room?
Yeah. Who knows, dude?
Maybe I'll make a song.
Yeah, dude.
Album. One day album.
Yeah. Hey, who knows, dude?
No, I appreciate having you on. I'll be praying for you. I'll be reaching out to you if I need anything.
Yeah, bro. For sure.
You do the same as well.
Yeah.
And next week your podcast will be up. So
sick, dude. I'm stoked.
Perfect.
Sick.
Awesome.
Well,
peace out, Luke.
Peace out.
Peace. Boop.
Yeah.
The camera's off.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, doesn't actually end there. All right.